boy, if the captain of the Titanic would have had predictive analytics back in the day,
What? Or if she could have just moved over a little bit. I'm just kidding. I know that's a floating joke, but.
A floating joke. Wow, okay. So predictive analytics.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. My name is Brian Lutz, Chief Marketing Officer of Elite Consulting Partners, stepping in for Frank. With me, as now, per usual,
is Cheema, Chief Information Officer for Jedi, as well as Elite Consulting Partners.
You know, we've done a couple of these already, and I was saying, the kids have kind of taken over. Frank and Stacy might need to, watch their backs.
I know, right? We're having too much fun doing this.
Well, not only that, but the numbers on some of these podcasts are looking pretty good.
Us.
A lot of downloads. And so for the listener, what I'm talking about is we've started to add a few more different segments to the Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa schedule, to where one day we're talking about marketing. Today we're talking about Jedi Database Solutions as it relates to integrating AI into advisory practices. But the podcast that all of you have known to love is the traditional Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa, which is not going away. We're just adding more content to the calendar. Typically, these conversations will be released on Saturday early morning. So a nice little walk in the morning to start your weekend. Listen to Sue and Brian talk about some really nerdy stuff. So, Sue, we're talking today about opportunities and challenges as it relates to integrating artificial intelligence, or AI, into advisory practices.
Yes. What a cool topic.
I think so. Now, people actually may have a misunderstanding of what AI actually is and what it's not. Can you run through a couple of use cases or a couple of examples of what AI is and maybe what AI isn't?
Yes. So artificial intelligence essentially is a field in computer science that talks about creating systems and machines together, right? Essentially, how they create that is through language learning, right? It's tons of data, something like World Wide Web that has, all the humans on it. What are they searching? How are they searching? What's generating certain reactions? And kind of group it together, images, what is what. How a child learns to observe the world is how we are teaching machines and software to kind of understand the world around us, and basically on the virtual world.
I love that example, teaching a child how to view the
That's
world.
essentially it, right? You use your eyes, you use your ears, you use your language, right? And you kind of group it together to create a narrative in your head. So we're kind of creating that narrative in your head through the data that's available to us through the virtual world.
Right. And as I poke myself in the microphone, because the microphone is now taking over, the robot inside of the microphone is now coming at me, because I'm going to share some things of what is not AI. This microphone, not AI. A lot of people associate AI with a very popular movies.
Terminator.
That's right. A very popular movie in the 80s where the machines kind of became self-aware,
right,
and eradicated the world from humans because maybe the programming there wasn't fully thought through. And that's kind of what we're talking about today.
Super intelligence.
Right.
We're so far away from that.
Please. Well, I don't know. Maybe not that far. It wasn't that far. It wasn't that long ago where people were still, moving a rotary dial around their telephones. So maybe not too far in the distant future.
Right? You never know.
Right. I guess it depends on who you ask. But when we think about what AI is and typical uses within today's environment, we think about probably first ChatGPT.
Correct.
Right. And ways to use chat. Or the robot, as the kids are calling it today. Ways to use ChatGPT is to provide suggestions on email subject lines, or the most popular use case, which is probably ChatGPT, please help me make this email sound good, right? And so a large study right now and courses that you could take online is prompt engineering, meaning how to prompt or ask ChatGPT or any open AI or AI solution to deliver the response back that you're looking for.
Right.
And so as we get down that rabbit hole, AI can also be incorporated into things that Sue and I have talked about on this podcast before as it relates to
marketing, operational workflows.
Words right out of my mouth. I love it. A lot of people are using AI today for meeting summaries, where you utilize tools like Read AI, or Zoom has a solution as well, where it takes the transcript of the meeting, it gives you the key notes, it breaks out action items, and can also give you a full transcript of what was said and who said it, which is probably one of my favorite solutions today. But Sue, talk to me a little bit about where advisors can start using AI now.
Yeah. So can we take a tiny step back? I just want to emphasize the journey that we have taken in artificial intelligence through natural language learning and learning models. I was at a conference last week for artificial intelligence, surrounded by, I felt unworthy, if those people are watching, and it was such an experience, because people are, some of these ahead of the learning curve kind of folks, the innovators, are leveraging artificial intelligence to teach how to build softwares. Like that's the head of the realm, and where we are at, where advisors can start using some of the smaller components of artificial intelligence as content generation. That's the easiest, right? To your point, prompt builder is natural language learning built into a system, saying, hey, if someone says, hi, ChatGPT, how do you respond? And that happens through that language, through the learning models. So the advisors' use cases I think of, and we talked about it during our last podcast, is understanding those keywords. Like if someone's using words like not happy, angry, unsatisfactory, like you could actually tag that client into a CRM saying, oh, NPS score, I don't know, -10. Something like that, right? Or if someone's CRM is integrated with Read AI, as an example, you could have the transcript feed into the client activity and then create tasks based on certain keywords, like, oh, so my action item for next week is XYZ, and anything that follows could be created as a task. So I think it's all very exciting, and I'm excited to be in a world where we don't have to type anymore.
I think one of my favorite use cases from last week was the keyword targeting behavior that you used around rescheduling.
Yeah.
Where if you're not utilizing a scheduling tool like a Calendly or a Microsoft Bookings or whatever solution that you may be enjoying, if you are doing it manually by saying, hey, here's some times on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, if any of those don't work for you, let me know.
Right.
Someone replies back, be like, hey, can we reschedule for Thursday?
Right.
Solution picks up the word reschedule,
right,
sends that over to some operations staff member within the office,
right,
and says, hey, saw that these times don't work. Here's some more availability for you. So that lets the advisor continue to focus on his clients and the practice. One less thing for them to worry about.
Yeah, what's really interesting is softwares like Salesforce have prompt builders. They have Agentforce that's totally emphasized artificial intelligence through Einstein. You could really take a step into the future by just creating essentially an agent of your own within your own processes. I mean, there's a huge lot of potential there to really raise or leverage your resources better.
So there's one thing I want to get to, and I'm trying to calm my nerves because I know it's going to get you really excited, and I really enjoy talking to you too. But one of the things from a marketing standpoint that we spoke about last week too is a level of personalization. I know AI is great with that. you want to dig a little bit deeper around what tools like a Salesforce can do in terms of personalization as it relates to maybe custom fields or the names that you're using or information and even previous meetings held.
Yeah, so when we have internally Agentforce that's enabled in our CRM, and how we're leveraging or even could leverage it even better is it pulls in all the client information and can create an upsell opportunity, as an example. Like, oh, hey, if I was to go into the Agentforce and say, hey, my Joe Schmo client moved last year, create an email draft for me as a follow-up, but also understand our services and tell me how I can make a case to this candidate, as an example, to sell my services. And it'll, based on this client's activity, search not only Salesforce, but the World Wide Web, create that layer, and then push it out as an email. I mean, that's super powerful.
100%.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was drawing up yesterday, or I guess last night in my office, was something along those lines where it was a workflow that was targeting the words opportunity or action item, and then the sentence structure that followed that, and then create a follow-up email based on that meeting that utilizes the custom field of client name that sends up follow-up items based on the transcript of the notes that went out. So after a meeting is over, email goes out. Hi, client name. Here's a summary of what we spoke about yesterday. An action item that came out of that was to discuss the opportunity around XYZ.
How cool is that?
Here's some times that you can use to schedule time on my calendar as a follow-up to that conversation to keep the momentum moving.
I love that use case because it doesn't end-to-end. Right, a lot of processes that people think of is trying to automate a singular line of process. Whereas if we take a grand scale of things, you could actually, there is an end-to-end automation that AI can provide and enhance. That's amazing.
Right. Now, here's a challenge with that opportunity. Sometimes this happens on the back end, and I'm guilty of this, to where an email will go out based on an automation or a workflow that I've written, and then it goes out to client. Client will reply back in 2 to 3 days talking about how excited they are to talk about an opportunity, and I've forgotten that workflow is happening.
Oh, no.
And so then it comes in and be like, oh, gosh, now I need to remember the conversation that we had, so now I need to go back into the account notes. But the solve for that is an email that goes out to you, the advisor, or the owner of that AI solution, that gives you the meeting notes 1 hour before your next scheduled meeting happens, so that you can read that transcript and the summary before you meet with that client again.
Isn't that awesome? Like a tier sheet of all your everything, right? Like, yeah, so the way I've done it in the past through automation is you buy a third-party software, you integrate it with the CRM, you write like a little bit of SQL query in the back end and combine multiple objects with joins and all that fun stuff, and then create a tier sheet out of it. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence, like all you have to do is summarize all activities. Whoa.
It's amazing. I love it to death. All right, so here's the thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad that I was able to wait this long before bringing it up, because Sue's about to jump out of her chair. Let's talk about predictive analytics.
Oh, my God.
Right? AI, probably most notably, is helping advisors, and I guess people across all verticals, in helping to understand leading indicators of business. Right. And so when I say predictive analytics, it's let's take a look at the information that we have and predict into the future how the business is going to grow, what opportunities there could be in the future, or what risks I need to get my arms wrapped around before they become larger problems. Right.
Challenges that can't fix.
Right. Boy, if the captain of the Titanic would have had predictive analytics back in the day,
What? Or if she could have just moved over a little bit. I'm just kidding. I know that's a floating joke, but.
A floating joke. Wow. Okay. So predictive analytics, you want to walk us through about how we capture all of that and how that kind of works on the back end?
Yes. So I'll backtrack on this one as well a little bit. When 10 years ago,
it's like Janet Jackson, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
I know, right? So I built predictive analysis for a law firm that I was working at almost a decade ago now, and we actually used regression analysis to predict personal injury cases that would settle for the most value. Right. So obviously they had a ton of data because this company has been, in business for decades. And we were able to match the senior partner's cognitive ability to predict if the case would be of higher value or lower value. So having gone through the manual process, I can tell you that predictive analysis today is so much easier because you could use narrow AI, right? Essentially the same process. You feed the natural language, you create natural language models on a smaller data set, and you actually remove the noise. So it's not diluted, right? That's where we could talk about hallucinations later. But it's not diluted, and then, I know, I get so crazy about this stuff. But essentially, from all of that, you could actually say, this is where I have seen success, and based on the constant and the variables that I'm feeding this model, this is the probability of it happening in the future based on certain variables and constants, right? So it's math, higher processing power, and being able to generate and kind of use all that information to create an output, which us humans could take a bit longer, but a machine could be just focused on that, doing it, and can give you outputs per candidate, as an example.
I love that. Are there use cases that we could consider advisors to take a look at based on similar models like that? Maybe advisor clients that are looking for a specific set of services that might be more profitable from a revenue standpoint, or easier to manage, or from a resource allocation standpoint?
Yes. So I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted right now because I have an answer for that. But coming out of this conference, I feel like artificial intelligence, there is a ton of hallucinations, right? So one of the sum up from this conference was artificial intelligence is co-intelligence at the moment. So you have to be a SME to be able to recognize the output.
What's a SME?
Subject matter expert, right?
SME.
Yeah. So if you're leveraging artificial intelligence on items that you don't have a good understanding with, take a step back, make sure that you know what you're talking about before submitting it as a knowledge article of your own. But outside of that, listen, the best thing that artificial intelligence can deliver today is content generation. In any way possible. You could draft emails, you could understand emails, you could read emails, you could, create,
white papers, PowerPoints.
I was going to say marketing material.
Video, photos.
Yes.
There's a ton of stuff that you can utilize AI for. Yeah.
Workflow automation. There are, you could actually, if you have the right prompting skills, you could actually prompt artificial intelligence to create a software code for you. But would you be able to troubleshoot it? That's where the SME part comes in.
Right.
Right? Because it's not going to be perfect. And there's going to be some elements of it that you would have to know, right? Even in health sciences, right? I could go on.
So let's recap that, because I feel that that's very important.
Yeah.
In that, if you're trying to position yourself as a thought leader in an area, or you want to be considered a resource within a particular niche,
right?
It's very important that when you're utilizing AI to generate thought leadership articles, that you have a full understanding of the article that's being put out, because if you publish it, you want to make sure that the accuracy of that report is correct.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Co-intelligence at the moment.
So that was actually a great segue into the third piece that we wanted to talk about, which is challenges and considerations when using AI. What are some of the other ones that kind of stand out to you that you want to caution advisors on?
Besides hallucinations.
Let's talk about hallucinations. So a hallucination is not a bad drug trip. I mean, it could be, but that's not what we're talking about here. Why don't you define hallucinations for the listening audience here?
Yes. So because a lot of the platforms that we're using for artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT, Claude, they're leveraging the World Wide Web to gather and consume very quickly based on what you're asking and output. And to consume, remember the World Wide Web is filled with facts as well as misinformation. And the artificial intelligence doesn't know quite well just yet to distinguish between the two. So you're asking a question, it's gathering all the information based on what you're asking and dumping a ton of stuff out, right? So ideally, or not ideally, unfortunately, it could potentially have a lot of diluted information from the World Wide Web. And that's where we need to be a little careful. Because remember, any person could go in on any of the social platforms and say something that is not true as a matter of fact. And the machine doesn't know how to distinguish. And if you're asking something based on someone else's opinion, then you're getting that opinion.
Right. A lot of that will come up too as it relates to submitting for compliance.
Correct. Yep. And that's where it gets really tricky. And that's why the one thing that would be a great takeaway from this podcast is co-intelligence. Like, make sure you know enough about a topic before you're leveraging artificial intelligence to submit it wholeheartedly.
Right. Absolutely right. So let's get into co-intelligence, because you and I were chatting about this before we hit the record button. What is co-intelligence?
I'm a big, so I follow some of the tech.
She's so excited she can't position
I can't put my words together. I follow some of the, big names in artificial intelligence today. And
are they human?
They are human.
Okay.
I think what we can understand from artificial intelligence is, let me take a step back.
Third time today, by the way. Okay.
Say the question one more time, because my thoughts got all...
No, you're fine. You had mentioned co-intelligence before.
Co-intelligence, right.
Yeah, so what is co-intelligence?
The example I was going to give is a mobile device, right? Most of us cannot live without our mobile devices anymore, right? They're like part of our being. It knows everything that we're doing most of the time, right?
For the listening audience, that was air quotes. It knows.
So the idea being, we're kind of part robot in a way now, right? Like, imagine my grandmother's generation, my father's generation. They didn't have a device in their hand or near them 24 hours a day, listening in, reading in, knowing all our thoughts, knowing what we want to purchase, why we want to purchase it, where we are at, what we are doing, our Gmail, our social media. Everything about us is in the virtual world, and the artificial intelligence can analyze it. We are coexisting with machines today.
Now, if you were to ask my wife, she would probably say her Nona was the one that was listening in all the time and providing that guidance and advice.
But a lot of people don't even know, right? Like, we'll use the example, hey, I'll say a brand, and I'll say, hey, I really want XYZ. And the next thing you're on a platform, and social media platform, and you're prompted. I'm sorry, your device is listening to you.
Yeah, 100%, not just one.
Exactly right. And so the idea that we are not existing with the machines today is misinformation. We are existing with the machines today. Where we are going to be in a decade or two from now is there's going to be a human form to it, and even more super intelligence to it based on all the information that we're these AI firms are leveraging from all the information we're granting them.
So let's just put this out there that, all of this is speculation at the moment, but if you and I were to look 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future, what does an advisor's life look like?
I had an interesting thought from that conference the other day where they mentioned an agent talking to an agent. What does that look like? What does that mean?
An agent in what sense?
Right. That's a great question. So every firm could have an agent, like basically built based on their processes, their use cases, their services, catered to their firm, right? I mean, it could be just two people firm. One is artificial intelligence, one is the owner of the firm, right? As long as you can make that model and have artificial intelligence be part of it. So the idea thereafter is you could tell this agent could be your CRM, could be your assistant, could be, all you have to say is send an invite for Brian. Let's create a tier sheet for Brian. What did I do with Brian last time? Just what we are using Alexa for today as an example. We could have CRMs be those Alexas, right? All these SaaS platforms could become agents of sorts, catered to a financial firm. And I know that was a lot, and I know it takes a minute to wrap your head around that, but I think that's where we are headed.
So putting that in a different way, you have potentially a single advisor firm that has multiple staff that are all AI agents. Right?
That's right.
So you could talk to your assistant, AI agent. Mm-hmm. You could talk to your ops manager, AI agent. And you're talking to them just as I'm talking to you,
right,
asking them to complete tasks, or they can predictively or predict what you're going to ask for because they're listening in on the conversations that you're having with your client.
There you go.
A fully automated advisory.
And by the way, what's really cool is when you are talking to another advisory, or when you have an attorney and you're sending them papers, like on the other end, they're agents reading all the information that's being generated by artificial intelligence. Like it's a fully, when we were talking about end-to-end automation, it's a fully end-to-end automated world. I know that's a scary thought for a lot of people, and it is often for me based on where we are today. But if we take some of the risk out, I think it would be pretty cool.
Well, I think anything new is going to be just a little bit scary. But I think as people are beginning to use AI solutions, whether it be Apple Intelligence or Google's Gemini or ChatGPT, gosh, for the longest time, I'm going to go way back here, and I think the older listener will appreciate this. The very first interaction that we had with an AI agent was Clippy.
Oh, I don't know.
No?
But that could just be, I don't know.
Oh, Sue, maybe you're too
no, I'm not. I've lived under the rock a lot, so that's, that's what it is.
Clippy was the little paperclip that showed up in Microsoft Office that said, "What can I help you with?" And he taught him... No, oh my gosh.
And I've been a Mac person for, I know.
I'm way too
I lost
old.
a lot of
I'm
people
hoping that
on
the listeners are going to help me out. Help me out, listener. Clippy was my boy back in the day, got me through high school, showed me where the bullets are, showed me how to indent.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was the first, AI assistant that essentially helped you, format a Word document so that you could pass 7th grade.
And so when I told you this when I was at this conference, this woman that's done artificial intelligence for 40 years now. We don't realize how integrated it has been. It's just become a buzzword now.
Right.
Right. And I think the buzzword needs to, there's a lot of clarity that needs to happen around that buzzword. Listen, it could certainly automate. It could certainly process a lot faster, but there is a lot of trust that needs to come within the data if you're using the public ChatGPTs, the public language models.
100% too. I 100% agree. And I think too that as with any new solution, the more reps you get in utilizing that tool, the more comfortable you'll be, the more that you'll understand it,
Right.
the more productive you'll be in
Right.
your practice. And outside of your practice, quite honestly.
Yep.
A little personal note about myself. We use ChatGPT for all of our travel itineraries now.
That's so awesome, right?
100%.
Like, I'm going here. Tell me exactly what's best to do on these days.
My wife and I are going to Spain this summer, and I went into chat. And I'm like, hey, build me an itinerary to hit this city, this city, this city.
Oh, my God.
Because that's where I've heard that we should go.
Right.
And then, as a comparison, I said, if I'm going to Spain and I've got this much time, what city should I be hitting, knowing what you know about me?
And you know what's so powerful about that one line is that the AI is going and looking at every single public transcript of, hey, I was in Spain, I was in like Barcelona and it was sunny in May, and it's creating like based on what Brian is telling me and the activity that he wants to do, what's the perfect weather, what's the just understanding the processing power it takes to gather that ton of information and give you the app. I think we take it for granted already.
100% we do.
Right?
And I'll say one more thing, too. I didn't tell it what I like to do. It probably looked at my Instagram or Facebook or whatever
crazy?
else and said, Brian's at the beach a lot and he holds a lot of glasses of wine. So you better believe that it spit out, like, visit these beaches, hit these wineries. And I'm like, yes, chat, way to go, bud.
It created your preferred output.
It did.
Wow.
No, it was incredible. And so not something to be feared, but absolutely something that should be understood.
Yes.
A lot that we unpacked here. We're going to put a lot of this in the show notes too. So if you follow us on YouTube, all of this information will be down there. But you can also find these episodes on our website at JediSolutions.com. You can find us on Instagram at Jedi.dbs, on LinkedIn and Facebook, Jedi Solutions. But of course, we invite you to follow us and watch us on the YouTube at Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. My gosh, there's just too much going on. This is why
I was there a minute ago, so I get it.
But you see, and it's a moment like that where very soon I will be replaced by an AI agent delivering
Not anytime soon. Not anytime
What?
soon.
You can't replace this face.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening in. This has been a lot of fun. If you want to find Sue, you can find her at
Sue Cheema at eliteconsultingpartners.com.
Partners with an A. We didn't get into it, but there was going to be a New York joke, so we'll have to say that for last, or say that for next time. But
New York.
Thanks for listening, guys. Always a pleasure to be talking with you. Let's talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.